information regarding the attendance policies and procedures at the Issaquah School District. So attendance matters, and research has shown that it takes 3 days to catch up from school for every school day students miss. Attendance is important to develop social emotional skills, including self-regulation and problem solving. And it's to establish the environment that promotes a sense of safety and belonging, to prioritize respect and creating a space where students feel connected to adults in the building and school culture. As a middle school teacher, I will definitely say when students were absent, they fell behind so quickly. And so that became very problematic because then they were really struggling to catch up. In elementary school, attendance absences is very different from middle and high school. But even in elementary school, I've heard kids in school say, "Oh, I was absent that day when my teacher taught this." And I kind of never understood that afterwards. And they're like, "Oh my goodness." So attendance is important, when students feel connected to and supported by the teachers, they're more motivated to attend and have better academic outcomes. So
So our attendance law, why do we even have a law? It really comes down to the safety of the students. We just want to make sure that we know where they are, and you as parents know if they're not in class when you think they are. Really, it's just about accountability and making sure that if a child is not attending school, we're having conversations to try to overcome what are the barriers, what do you need, and we can try different possibilities to change that behavior. Just so you know, the state law requires students, once they turn 8 to 17 years old, they should be attending, or they need to be attending public school. Once you turn 18, we don't have jurisdiction over you anymore. And 6th and 7th year olds, like sometimes I get calls from the community members saying that they are aware of a child not attending school who may be 5 or 6. And I can't file a petition until they're 8 years old. However, if a parent does enroll their student into the Issaquah School District and they're 6 or 7 years old, we can file a petition if you are enrolled and not attending. So I'm not sure if that's a little confusing or not, but basically we do want to make sure that everybody is participating in some type of educational setting. And really we start to get concerned if there isn't any communication or knowledge of participating in a program. I'm not sure if I talk about the different options, but we know that some families may choose to homeschool. Some families may choose online learning. Some, we've got our comprehensive schools in Issaquah. So there is not one size for every child, but you have to be engaged in some kind of learning.
And just remember that the Issaquah School District does not have online learning for K through 12. So online learning is usually done through WAVA for different program, and homeschooling is through a parent. The parents are doing that. So this is state law for kids are attending school or parents enrolled the child that they're homeschooling for 8 to 17-year-olds.
For the secondary families, I know, and I'm learning more about our online program. So to be continued on that piece, there's some students that are taking 1 or 2 classes online, and I know you can pay to take an online class. So if you have questions about that, we have a fantastic online learning program, and we can connect you with them to learn more.
Yes. I just say that, Stacy, because some parents think that we have an online school.
Oh, sure. Like a
And that's why we
full-time.
definitely, yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify that we don't have a full-time online
Sure.
school. You have options to take online classes for certain credits.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, reporting absences. So there are many ways to get your absence reported. One is through calling the school number. 2 is through emailing the school number. And that information, if you go to the school's website on your phone or on the website a computer, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and the school's telephone number, fax number, attendance line are all there. This is a link. The attendance is a link, so you can click on it to email the school, and you can leave your message and make sure you include your child's name, grade level, date of absence, and the reason for absence. Reason for absence is important so that we can mark them excused or unexcused. And you can call at night and leave the message as well if you forget to call the make the call during the day. I'm going to tell you, as a parent, when I wake up in the morning and my child's sick, calling the school office and leaving an absence is not on the top of my priority list. And so very often it ends up to at the end of the day. But sometime in the 24 hours, if you can just let the school know, because the key to all of this is making sure you are partnering with the schools. Again, this is all about partnership. And this website is under About Us, under contacts, and under attendance contact information. They have put a handy dandy link to all of the schools' attendance information sites. So you don't have to, if you have multiple children and you're all sick or throwing up, hopefully not, but it's an easy way to get to this page and send out emails to all the schools at the same time, hopefully. Um, any absence is marked unexcused. The office is not notified. And so most of this presentation is about unexcused absences. If students are arriving 2 hours or more late after the start of the day, that is, they're considered absent. And if they're leaving 2 hours or more before dismissal time, they're considered absent. If you take your child to the doctor for an illness causing absence, if possible, request a doctor's note. Just and honestly, I don't, if it, since most of the time it's only once or twice, but if there's a problem, if there's a bigger illness, getting that might be helpful, especially if it's going to result in many, even if it's excused absences, because at some point, many excused absences even starts becoming an issue. And so just having that, because very often doctors will print out some kind of paper and a summary visit. So just kind of keep that in a file in case you need it at a later date. For robocalls, one of the big reasons we put this in is I was asked, well, school is so annoying. They send me this call and tell me my child's absent. Like, why? So there are multiple reasons. One, it's to make sure you and the school are on the same page, because there are some parents who are surprised. And that parent might be surprised because they saw their child go to the school and get on the bus, but then the child didn't actually go into the classroom. And in middle school and high school, that happens. But in elementary school, that doesn't happen as much. In middle and high school, it's also possible that sometimes a child might be marked absent because there are 34 kids in the class and the teacher is taking attendance within the first 30 seconds and trying to move on, and they make a mistake. As a teacher, I'll have to admit that I've done that. And so if you get that call, it is very important that you email the school if it's a specific classroom teachers period and whatever teacher you think it is, and say, hey, my child was marked absent on second period, but I know they were there. Can you confirm that they were absent? Then the teacher will double check their records, look into it, and the teacher has to fill out this form to verify and mark that child present. So don't ignore the call and say, that teacher, they marked it wrong. Oh, I know my child was in class, the school just made a mistake. Double check, because we've had instances where the parent just ignored it thinking we made a mistake because their child said, oh, mom, I was there. The teacher made a mistake. In actuality, we had video footage of the child leaving campus. So checking is always a key, so that we can partner up. Because the main thing is, if we mark the child absent and you think that we were wrong, you need to verify, because we don't want anything to happen to that child. And if we made a mistake, great, we will fix it. But if the child was missing or left school, it's critical that we know that and start working on ways to keep them safe and not leaving school. Prearranged absences. Stacy?
Yes, we have a form if you are going to be missing school for 3 or more days. So if you have an absence for 1 or 2 days, you can just call in and let the attendance office know if you are not going to be at school, you know, ahead of time. Maybe you're leaving early for a trip and they're going to miss 1 or 2 days. We used to, if you have, previously we had 2 different forms, but now this year we just have one form. If you have a trip that is 3 or more days, you have to fill out a prearranged absence form. So you need to complete the form. Elementary form looks a little bit different than secondary. Secondary, you have to go around to your teachers to let them know that you're going to be absent. Elementary, we have the parents just fill that out. And that has to be submitted to the office a week before your trip. Because the principal needs a chance to read what is going on, why are you leaving, and then they can approve or deny that absence. So something that you need to remember is our teachers, according to their contract, they're not required to create work ahead of time for students that are going on trips. So they're not going to be packets given to you ahead of time. All of this will be when you return. You're going to have to work with your teachers to look at the work that was missed and come up with what needs to be made up or not. For the secondary students, a lot of times they will encourage students to check Canvas. A lot of teachers are posting modules and assignments there. So even on your trips, students can log in and try to keep up to date with what is going on. It's a lot. If you're missing 3 or more days, it's a lot of work to make up. So if they can stay on top of things, at the elementary, that's a little different. I think you have access to iReady math and reading, or you could just read as a family. But really, you're going to be meeting with the principal and they're going to determine, is this going to have what? I mean, we know that there's going to be an impact on their education, because missing days is going to be impactful. But sometimes students, there's not a concern. They can make up the work. The conversation happens if a student maybe is not at standard, is really struggling in class, has a lot of missed days, maybe because of illnesses or unexcused absences, and then a family comes with a form saying that they want to leave for a few weeks on a trip. It's a conversation, and the principal can not excuse that trip. And that's what that form and that conversation and meeting is about.
Sorry, Stacy, responding to a comment. Okay, so prearranged absence and next one. So for absences greater than 20 days,
Yeah, I don't see that. Can you move forward? I still see,
you're not seeing what I'm seeing? I have absences greater than 20 days out.
I don't see that slide,
Oh,
but I can talk about it. But my PowerPoint still shows the prearranged absences.
there we
There
go.
we go.
Now,
Yay!
all right,
Perfect.
I pressed on pause for some reason. I didn't know I could do that.
Hey. So we have questions sometimes about taking trips more than 20 days. And previously, there was a practice where if you were not at school for more than 20 days, we would withdraw you from school. That's no longer the case. We would like for you to fill out a prearranged absence form and talk about why is this extended trip happening. You're going to meet with the principal to discuss um, you know, oh, oh,
Sorry, I'm just showing what the forms look like
oh, good, okay,
because I hadn't done that before.
okay.
And
Um, really, the conversation is just about when are you going to be returning, and how is the work or what's going to happen while you're away. There's conversations about if you are going to return before school ends. versus those that want to leave and early. Like if you're going on an extended trip and May is your last day at school, but we finish school in June. So again, I encourage you, there's so many what if scenarios. I need you to complete the form. We need the prearranged absence form if you are going to be absent for more than 3 days, 3 or more days, because we need that for auditing purposes and for our records. And it all is about kind of how we calculate our FTE and student counts and what we're allowed to count and versus not. So that's a lot of background detail that your principals will know. Really, it's focused on what's going to happen, what learning can occur while you're away, and realizing that there's going to be perhaps gaps that as a family you might have to make up. And that can all just be part of that conversation.
And as a teacher, one of the biggest things that parents would ask when they were going to be gone for a while, they would ask me to give them all their makeup work. And the thing is, the teachers are really not expected to do that. And nowadays with Canvas, even if your child is ill or absent for a couple of days, if it's possible, encourage them to go on Canvas and get their work done because teachers post everything so they're not falling behind. In elementary school, it's a little bit harder to keep up with their work, but teachers, there's no expectations of teachers to give work before absences. And even for after absences in middle and high school, they'll say go to Canvas. And in elementary school, they might give them certain paperwork or handouts to be done. But in elementary school, it's really hard to catch up with everything they've done through the course of those days, especially since when to do it becomes problematic because they don't have like a homeroom class or some time for the teacher to catch up, so they usually end up having to be in different groups and to catch up in a group because they're behind, they've fallen behind in class.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, we do encourage you to take your trips when we have our scheduled breaks and over the summer, but we do know that circumstances happen, and it's better to have that conversation with the school team and your teachers prior to you leaving so that we know what the plan is. Also, we've had a scenario where a prearranged absence was filled out and something happened and they were not able to get back at the day that they said that they would be returning. So that is, again, a conversation, even if you're traveling abroad, trying to contact the school because you may have to submit a second document to update the new return date. So it's all just about knowing what's going on and working with you, and decisions might be where there's lots of different scenarios. Our goal is to not withdraw students. If we know you're coming back to school, we don't want you to have to go through the whole enrollment process again. So it's just working together, but at the same time, education is important and we want your kids in school. So what is that plan to continue their learning? Sorry, this is me. So responses to unexcused absences. So you will be receiving robocalls, like we mentioned. If your child is unexcused from school, you'll receive that call. But if you have 3 to 7 unexcused absences in a month, we definitely the school will be reaching out to have a meeting to try to understand what's going on. And it's really important that you respond to that outreach, whether it's a phone call or a Zoom call or an email, and you share what's going on, what are the barriers. An attendance agreement might be created. If your child has an IEP or 504, we're required to have an IEP or 504 meeting with that team, because perhaps there's accommodations that are needed that maybe aren't currently part of your plan. If you have 11 unexcused absences in a year, you will get a letter from the school letting you know that we're continuing to be concerned. The school will continue to outreach. You might have a meeting with a counselor or an admin, just trying to figure out what we can do to get you to engage back in school. And at 15 unexcused absences in a year, you'll get another letter. And that one is a little bit more detailed about the potential of a petition. And that's also one of my roles, is filing truancy petitions. If a child has missed 7 unexcused absences in a month or 15 unexcused absences in a year, we're required by law to file a petition with the court. And that is to acknowledge that, the student's not attending, and that will just engage with a lot more conversations and meetings that I think we're going to talk about. Sometimes it's not, it depends on how you're working with the school team. A lot of students, they may be trying a lot of different things, like partial schedules, or we figured out transportation. So it's a continued conversation, but just want everyone to know that once you hit that threshold of 7 in a month or 15 in a year, a petition could be filed. So these are the steps. I know a lot of people are wondering, oh my goodness, what does that mean when a petition is filed, and am I going to go to jail? And that is not the intent. So all of this is just letters informing you that your student is not engaging in school. Our first step after a petition is filed, you'll be invited to a workshop. We partner with Unleash the Brilliance, and they have workshops about having students kind of think about the choices that they're making in the future that they want, and how education is really important. After that, you'll be invited to a community engagement board that I lead with my team. And we're just there to listen to what's going on, what barriers are in place, and then we can problem solve together and put a plan in place. And then we're just monitoring. After that, a pretrial will happen. That is a conversation on Zoom with the court, and not a judge yet, just our contact with the court, the school team, and myself. And again, it's one more step before we appear in front of a judge. Really, up until this point, everything up until the court intervention, the control really is with the family and the student, and we try to come up with any plan. But if that's still not working and there's still not engagement, then we move to court where a judge is going to be involved.
So for parents, what do you do? So the main thing is to communicate with the school and the attendance secretary or the school administrator, because the school's goal, honestly, is to keep your child safe. So the main thing we're looking for is what's going on with the child, why is the child absent? If all is good, it's for family reasons, emergency, life happens, not a problem. But if there are concerns, they are absent because there's an illness that's ongoing, maybe we need to work with the parent to work on a health plan, right? Because maybe it's something that the school needs to now partners to help the child so that they're not falling behind. Maybe there's a 504 or something that's needed for the child. If there is some kind of school refusal, what are we doing to also partner with the child? Is an absence because of harassment, intimidation, or bullying, or some kind of feeling the child has about not wanting to come to school, or stress? So that's again another place where the school and the parent can partner, because sometimes for parents, they feel so isolated and alone. Like, I don't know what to do. My child doesn't want to go to school. Help me. And literally, that's where Stacy and her team come in to try to find interventions to help parents, to help them keep their child motivated to go to school. As a dean, I know that sometimes to help kids attend school, I would give them a little incentive, or I'd welcome them with a coloring page, or I'd welcome them with something, or their teacher would welcome them with something. But just anxiety or some kind of stress resulted in them being anxious And we were just trying to create welcoming environments to help the child come to school. Because I know what we know that once they come, then we can continue working to help them feel safe and belong to this at the school and learn, because that is such an integral part of their success and their growth. So, as parents, what you're trying to do is setting routines to reduce stress in the morning, to making sure they go to sleep early on or on time. I know for me, not that I go to work and my children are going to school on their own, it's setting alarms and timers to make sure they're getting the bus on time. If missing the bus is a problem, then what kind of conversations can you have with the school to help them? The school's not going to send the bus back, but there would be conversations on what the school can do, like maybe reminder calls or something to help them get to the bus to school on time, right? Because we would rather at any point prefer students to arrive late than not at all. Because even late, an hour or two even is better because they're still going to be able to access so much education that they would miss if they were absent completely. So the schools offer literally pages and pages of interventions to help school students attend school. And this is just a short list that we put in to show you all the many things schools do. Because honestly, our goal is to get kids to come to school and keep them in school.
Yeah, sometimes when we have conversations, families may not even know what are options or what are available. So we've put them on our website, but yeah, like Lorna mentioned, these are just a few just interventions that we really are there to listen and try, if we can, come up with an intervention that will change behavior and get students to re-engage.
So the school team meets to discuss next steps and concerns to support child and family. So you as a parent are welcome to give some suggestions because you are part of the school team. You are such an important part of this. I know that some schools offer tutoring or voice mentors. I've given alarm clocks and wake up calls to families in the past as a dean. And so there are many options. But again, the main thing is to have this conversation. Stacey?
Sometimes chronic absenteeism, you'll hear that, and that is actually when we look at excused and unexcused together. So truancy just looks at unexcused absences, but the school teams will still have some concerns if they notice chronic absenteeism, which is a lot of excused absences as well as unexcused. And we define chronic absenteeism as missing 10% of your school. That is 18 days over a school year. So you can kind of think about your own children, and missing 18 days of school is a concern. So the Washington state law, as we shared, schools will respond when a student is truant, which means unexcused absences. The truancy board at Issaquah, the community engagement board, is only after a petition is filed will you be invited to a board. And our goal is just to meet with families once that petition is there, really just coming up with a plan that we can help support.
So it surprised many of parents that I've worked with that they were contacted even though they had called in an absence and they had excused absences. And so under state law, elementary school students are required to conference or have a conversation with the school if their child is absent for any reason more than 10 times over the course of the year or within 5 absences within a month. And really, again, this is to encourage ongoing conversation between the school and the parents to make sure that our children are safe and that they're attending schools. So a doctor's note may be required. That's why I remember we talked about saving those doctor's notes. So if you're having a lot of absences that are excused because of illness, we might say, hey, can you turn in some or give us some documentation from a doctor? And if you don't have those notes, you can just ask the doctor's office to write a note saying, hey, this child was ill on these dates, and that's why they're absent on these days, because we're trying to, one, follow the guidelines of the law, and two, we are our school, and our primary goal is to make schools, our students safe. So the suggestion is to schedule vacations, as we said, and trips during the school scheduled breaks. So
Yeah,
at
and
this
so,
time,
oh, I just wanted to say about the doctor's note, that is not, it's not supposed to be a hardship. So if you are struggling with finding a doctor or unable to go and your building's requiring that, just let them know that you need help finding a doctor. And it really is only going to be brought up if there are a lot of absences due to illnesses. It really is, something else might be going on. Like what we just are concerned that if they're missing that much school, is there an underlying health issue that needs to be addressed? So you probably are already talking with your doctor about that. And so it's just asking for a note when you're there. Same thing with like dental appointments. You can just, it's just a way that they can code it that a doctor's note was provided. That way we know that you are working with medical professionals to try to address the need of why they're not attending.
okay. So at this time, we are done with our presentation. So I am going to stop the recording. But we just want to make sure you know that in case you have any questions, you're welcome to follow up with any of the family partnership liaisons to help you understand how to navigate school systems attendance and reporting policies. If you have questions or you're not sure about an incident that's happening, we encourage you to talk to the school principal, administrator, counselor to help you better understand what the next steps are and how we can help your child, because that's our main goal. Stacy Cho is the Assistant Director of Compliance. So if there is a problem that you're concerned with, know your HIB is being sent to her. And this was a great way for you to meet her and hear about the work she does to support students and families around attendance and HIB. Also, I am a resource. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. The slide deck has all of our information if you want to take a photo of that. There's also a feedback form. It's very, very short. We're just trying to find out, because this is really our first time doing this presentation, if we hit the mark, because we heard a lot of parents have questions around this, but really these questions come up when you're in the midst of having an issue, or if you have questions around attendance. So we're also hoping to post this on the website as a possible resource for parents if they do have these questions or have needs in the future. So thank you very much for attending, and we are officially done at this time. You're welcome to hang on and stay with us if you have questions, and we can answer questions at this time that have not already been addressed.